All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm Jeff Frazier. I'm the chair of the Charlottesville PCOB, Police Civilian Oversight Board. I want to call this meeting to order. This is our monthly meeting. We meet every second Thursday of the month. Next month, by the way, we will be meeting downstairs in the Parks and Rec conference room. This room is otherwise going to be occupied. Mr. Walker, would you please call the roll, and then we'll proceed.
Sure. Just say here, Mr. Dillard.
Here.
Mr. LaFave. Mrs. Reeves.
Here.
Mr. Fry.
Here.
Mr. Frazier.
Here.
Dr. Frazier. Dr. Dobson.
Oh, here.
Miss, I'm gonna try to get it right. Lenore Kelly.
Here.
And then Mr. Vaughn.
Yes. Thank you. So I just want to lay out our ground rules, just a reminder. Are they on the back of the agenda usually?
Yes, they are. I got them.
Everybody has that over, but just briefly, we will always adhere to respectful conduct. We'll treat other attendees with courtesy, listen actively. We will avoid interruptions. We'll refrain from personal attacks or inflammatory language. Importantly, for the public comment period, there'll be two opportunities, one near the beginning and one near the end of the meeting. There's a 3-minute time limit. The clock is up tonight for your comments. These are not opportunities for Q&A. They're not opportunities to ask questions and have the board respond. And you can certainly submit those questions to us through the office, and we will, but that is not the purpose of the public comment. So if you would refrain from asking direct questions, that would help. And when you speak, just let us know whether you're a resident of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, or another jurisdiction. But again, the bottom line is we will not be engaging in dialogue. All right. Let me, with gratitude, welcome our two newest members. We now have a full board. I'm very pleased to have you meet Natalie Reeves, who's joining us for the first time. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Karan Nora Kelly. Welcome to you both. We're very excited you're here and look forward to working with you. Let's see. So the next item would be the approval of the minutes from the February meeting. We also need to approve the minutes of the January meeting, Mr. Walker.
It'll be approval of this agenda for tonight and then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And January's
yes,
minutes.
Right. Yes. So we need to approve the minutes from January and the agenda of tonight.
Dr. Frazier, just before we go on, I had an opportunity, so then I'll be so to introduce yourselves to if the new board members want a little opportunity to introduce themselves. That I'd like to hear.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
My name is Nat Reeves. I have lived in the Charlottesville area since 1990. I'm living out in Savannah right now, but I work for the City Department of Human Services with the teenagers, so they keep me young. And I'm really glad to be here.
And to have you.
I am Karan Lenoir Kelly. I am a journalist and entrepreneur. I've been here in Charlottesville since 2019, I think. Really excited to be here, proud to serve this community as well as serve alongside this board. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Thank you.
joining me.
It's very nice to see a full eight members up there. It's been a while.
It has been a while. If I could have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight and the minutes from January 8th, if there was no discussion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye. James, you want to do the announcement?
Sure, and then if anybody else has something else, feel free to jump in. So the next internal community statistics meeting that's hosted by the police department is the chief has always made an option for board members to attend. There's a discussion during that meeting of just the prior month of police data as it relates to crime reporting and interventions. And so if there's ever a time that one of you wants to come, I know that we've had kind of a rotation in the past months. We just try to do one seat at a time, one board member joining at a time, but let me know. So the next one's on February 19th, and they usually are in the mornings right here in this space. Usually I reach out by email or just send me an email if you want to be the one, and whoever takes the slot first gets to go. So, but yeah, thank you to the chief for that opportunity for us to join. And you always call on us too to see if we have any comments. So
Oh, yeah, you gotta participate, man. If I gotta sit there for 2 hours, we're gonna talk. Still not 1 hour. So, yeah, that's the one we go above.
And then also, just as a reminder, Dr. Frazier already mentioned it, but in March, we will be in the floor below this. So Parks and Recs, you enter right there by the elevator and the stairs. And I'll have those doors unlocked to come in. And there's a conference room, a little bit cozier, but we'll fit. And that's because they're doing budget sessions and stuff throughout the day up here in the main room. So that will be our new backup room, because we used to be over in neighborhood development and it was just not a good space for the public. And there's at least a little bit of extra room downstairs. And so just, if you can't find it, just look for me in the office or see me walking around next month, but I'll remind everybody. And then finally, Mrs. Reeves had shared an opportunity for a upcoming event that's being hosted by the Department of Human Services. And I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about it. I included the flyer to it. It's like the third item underneath the minutes. It's like the green paper. And this might be a good opportunity for the PCOB to have some representation if you wanted to share a little bit about this.
So it'll be our first teen expo, and we're covering a few different things. We want to have some businesses there so teens can apply for summer jobs or part-time jobs. We'll also have some vendors there who specifically market to teens, and then just some opportunities for teens to engage in different activities, and we'll have workshops as well. So it's just an opportunity for teenagers to know what's in the community.
So, Ms. Reeves, it's at Carver,
It's at Carver.
and it's midday on the 20th.
They are supposed to be out of school if they do not make that a makeup day.
And do we need to sign up in advance or let you or someone know if we want to attend?
Yep.
Okay.
Save a table for you.
So my whole goal is, if we have all the stuff in the office, the table, the table linens, all the swag items, things like that. So if we just have a little bit of interest from a couple board members, that would be great, and then we can make it happen. I'm happy to help facilitate that too.
You know what day of the week that is?
It's a Friday.
All right.
That's a good day for that kind of thing.
Any other announcements, Mr. Walker?
I do not have any others unless someone else has something of note that they want to mention to the group.
Any other board members have any announcements? All right. All right, next item, I wanted to bring you up to date on the independent counsel selection. We've been without an independent counsel for over 2 years to represent us should there be any issues that the city attorney would have to conflict out, because they have to represent the city. So if there was any issue in which we had a different position than the city, we have access to our independent counsel. So the process was the city attorney did some vetting and submitted 3 names, 3 attorneys to us over the last month. Mr. Walker and I interviewed all 3 of them, 2 in person from Charlottesville, the 3rd via Zoom from Richmond. And the code, the city code, that our section of the code that applies to us allows for the independent counsel. It is in our budget. So of the 3, they were all highly qualified. Any of them could have done a terrific job, but the one that we landed on to recommend to the board is a gentleman named Martin Conn, C-O-N-N. He's with Warren Reeves and Conn in Richmond. There's a little bit of his bio on the sheet that was included in the packet, but there were several things that really jumped out as favorable in terms of his presentation. One, a real passion for what we're doing, a real commitment to our mission. He has a couple of associates that means we have not having a single attorney to access. We will have him or either of his associates, and just a good feeling about him as an individual. Mr. Walker, would you add anything about our interview with Mr. Conn?
I just wanted to emphasize that all 3 candidates were very qualified and very professional. We were just trying to find someone that was a good fit for the board and the board's mission. And I don't think he'll mind me sharing it, in the sense that one of the things he mentioned was that he went home and told his daughters about this opportunity, and they were like, yeah, Dad, finally do something like this, that's,
Something good.
but not to, the typical, lawyer mentality that we all have, but, it seemed like they were very eager and passionate about engaging in this kind of work that is community focused. So that was where, kind of our decision came from.
Yeah, he's really plugged into the Richmond community in terms of pro bono public service. And we just didn't feel that him being in Richmond was a barrier with Zoom and phone and computers, that it wouldn't be necessary really for him to even come up here maybe once to meet everyone should the board approve the selection. So any questions about Mr. Khan before we put it to a vote? As I said,
Only thing that I want to say about that, you all did his background, whatever, and you.
So the city attorney's
City
office
attorney
is actually who did that, yeah.
Right.
The way the ordinance is laid out, it says the city attorney's office has to vet and verify those candidates first. Then they send an approved list to us to then interview and select. That the final step is the board votes to move forward with the contract on any of those. So they handled that component for us, which was very nice of them.
All right.
and just as an aside, his fee was the lowest of the three, although that wasn't a make or break thing, but it was an attractive.
Whole lot better than the last one.
We won't talk about that. I will entertain a motion to approve the selection of Martin Kahn as our independent counsel, if there's no further discussion.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, so we will get that contract. Mr. Walker, does that go through the city attorney to?
Yes, I'll communicate with the city attorney's office to kind of see what is the standard procedure for those types of contracts. If they want to see something issued from Mr. Khan first, or if they have a model that they want to use. So we'll get moving on that. It was just tonight's vote that kind of wanted to move that forward.
Yeah,
So
good. Thank you all. All right, this next item is public comment number 1. If anyone chooses to speak, you would have 3 minutes to speak. Anyone online, Remy, to speak?
One attendee currently doesn't have their hand raised.
Okay, all right. All right, for our next item, I'm very pleased to welcome Chief of Police.
Is it the hot seat right here?
Yes, sir, Chief Guy.
hey, it'd be more casual to sit than
And
stand.
also welcome Captain Newberry and
Stand it.
Maya, who is joining us tonight as well.
Yeah, so my staff here, Captain Newberry, he's the captain over our Professional Standards Bureau. And then Lieutenant Jake Vaya, you all know,
He was here
works with
last
you all
month, Chief, yeah.
and regularly, so welcome.
So I've asked the chief to share some comments with us, and then we'll open it up for questions from board members, any matter related to CTV. So Chief, floor is yours.
Well, first of all, Mr. Chair, thank you for the invite and for having me. And I'll say you should be proud. This is a great site, right? You have a full board, and we've spoken a lot about this, that a functional PCOB is something that not only I think the community wants, but also that I could tell you that I want and that this police department needs. We need a functional PCOB. I look at this body as a bridge between the police and the community, right? And so I think it's really important. I could tell you that there's a lot of work that's been done already. And I can say that, with James and Dr. Frazier, and whether it be our policy recommendations and updates to multiple policies, to the access that James has with all of our systems, unfettered access to our Axon body cam system. There's nobody else in the Commonwealth, no other PCOB that I believe has that. And sitting in on our use of force review panels. So James reviews every use of force that comes to the police department. He's there on those panels and looks at them. So I think it's a good thing. And I think what we've seen, and I think you all will see as you go through this, whether it be an internal investigation, use of force investigation, or whether it be a policy recommendations, is that we're very thorough. And we're going to hold people accountable when they need to be held accountable. And you know, we invite you all to come to our CompStat meetings or, you know, or anything else. I mean, it's our police department's open. And that's really the environment that we want to set within the department and the relationship between us and the PCOB. Mr. Frazier talked about our CompStat meetings. We've been doing those for about a year and a half, Tony, is that right?
2 years.
About 2 years now. That was one of our strategic priorities early on. And those meetings, when you come to them, like I said, I kind of said jokingly, it's 2 hours. It is every bit of 2 hours. Not long, but it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of information, and we are looking at data. We are looking at trends. Each commander from each sector has to get up and speak to what they're doing about these things, whether it be community engagement strategies, enforcement strategies, whatever the case may be, trying to identify what are some of these, what's causing some of the areas where we're seeing spikes in different things. And so something that my staff knows that every month they're going to have to stand up in front of me and explain what they're doing to address these issues in our community. And we've seen some results. And so I think that's great. A few quick things going on within the police department now. It's budget season. It's probably why you guys have to be downstairs next week. I'm sure they have a work session in here. I've been told it's a tough budget this year. I've been told that for my past 28 years in this job. So, but it is. It's going to be a tough budget year, and the city manager's working diligently with his team, and we actually met today, and they're working hard. So that's taken up a lot of time. Our strategic plan, we are in the process of building out our next strategic plan for our next 3 years. So 3 years ago, we developed a 3-year strategic plan with 3 overarching priorities. Priority number 1 was building community partnerships addressing gun violence. Number 2 was recruitment and retention. Number 3 was the treatment and wellness of our staff. And we've hit and under each one of those 3 overarching priorities are a lot of things that we need to do, right? And so we've hit a lot of those things and have made a ton of progress in those areas. So as we build onto that for the next 3 years, those 3 overarching priorities will remain the same, but we're adding one, and that is sustainability. And sustainability means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but that is one of the city's priorities, right? And that means everything from looking at more like hybrid vehicles, right? Transitioning to, or seeing where can we go to EV if possible, right? Obviously, there's budget constraints and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to be adding that into that overarching priority. And then Assistant Chief Meehan, who is working on that strategic planning process, is right now developing a stakeholder map, meaning who do we need to be getting involved in this process of building our strategic plan. Surprise, you all will be one of them. Okay, so he will be reaching out to this group, sit down and talk about that as well. Other community groups, our community action team that meets regularly. And so you should be hearing something about that, but we are in the process of building out our next strategic plan for the next 3 years. And I would like to have you part of that process. So few things from a community standpoint, some of the things we're doing. We just started our second Hispanic Community Academy 2 nights ago. I'm losing track of time. And we began this last year when obviously we realized that a lot going on in our community and around this country when it comes to immigration enforcement and actions on behalf of the federal government. We want to make sure that those in our community who are victims of crime feel comfortable calling us and reporting those crimes, right? The last thing I want as a police chief is somebody to be a victim of a crime and then hesitate calling us. And so the idea is to build meaningful relationships with our Hispanic community where they know that, okay, they may not feel comfortable calling 911, but they're going to know somebody face to face within the Charlottesville Police Department. And we could care less what your immigration status is, that you can call directly if you're a victim of a crime or someone you know is a victim of a crime, and we will work with you. We'll take that report and we will investigate it I think that's really important. We've seen these classes fill up quickly. And the relationships that are being built are tremendous. I just met with he's the director of Simbras last week. I met with the community group over in Carlton Mobile Home Park about the week before. There were like 30 some families there as well. Just really having really good conversations and listening to how folks are doing in the Hispanic community. I'll tell you that it was clear to me they're scared to death. And we have to, as a police department who is here for them, we are their police department too. That we continue to reach out to them and let them know that we're here for them. And so we will continue to do that and look forward to building off of that progress. And so with that, I'll open it up to questions. I told Chair Frazier that any question, nothing's off the table.
Nothing?
Well, we'll see. I think the media's in the room too, right?
Chief, I have a question.
Yes.
I was pleased to see last week, I think, that the statistics on the reduction in gun violence, the 51% reduction, remarkable statistic. And I wonder if you could share with us some of your thoughts about how you got there.
I got this question today from a reporter. And that was the exact question. And I started to talk about all the things. And he's like, well, I was hoping for kind of a simple answer. And I said, well, the simple answer is there's not a simple answer. When you talk about reductions in crime that we're seeing, and just to say, we're not the only ones seeing reductions like this. I mean, Chief Edwards in Richmond just did a press conference about 2 weeks ago, seeing similar results. We're seeing this around the country too. But it's not just one thing. I can't sit here and say that, the police were out here and we're doing the great job and us alone have done this. No, we can't say that. This was, when I look at those numbers, and think about, how we gotten here. I mean, if we remember 3 years ago, 2023 was a tough year. We had 6 homicides. Between January, February, March, between January and March, I want to say we had 4 homicides in the first 3 months of 2023. We were averaging a shots fired call a day. The community was going through a lot. And if you go back and you look at the community meeting that we had at Trinity Church, it was lively. But the thing I took away from that meeting was that this community cares. This community was, I want to say they were upset, but not necessarily at the police, but upset that this was happening, right? And I got to tell you, just the partnerships, just the community, the amount of community groups and members who want to be involved and help addressing the issues within the community that we're seeing, it makes you feel good as a chief that you're not in this alone, right? And so yes, we've done some things, right? We've the strategic deployment of resources, putting cops where they are when they need to be there. And then make sure when they're there, they're doing what we need to be doing. And that is getting out of your car, meeting with folks, building relationships, all those important things that we need to do. To our focused deterrence model. We know that a majority of our violent crime that we see in this city and in many cities is really committed by a very small group of individuals. And so identifying those individuals and really take a focused approach to addressing them, to addressing the issue, to identifying who they are, and focusing on individual people instead of communities. I think we've seen that in the past, right? You would see a crime spike in a neighborhood and police would flood that neighborhood and people would feel like they are under siege or something, right? That doesn't necessarily work. And the long-term issues, stuff like that cause, it goes towards, ruining that trust that we work so hard to build. So there's that. And then our community partnerships, community partnerships are key. We can't do anything with this, right? Without that. So we, like I said, it's not a quick answer, right?
Is it your sense, or is there data do you have that suggests there are fewer guns on the street?
Oh, no.
So that's not the very.
No, I don't think there's fewer guns. I mean, I don't know. I don't have those
Okay.
numbers, right? But I don't think I would say that. most of the guns that we're seeing on the street are stolen out of people's vehicles. We know that. But no, I don't think we're seeing less guns on the street. We are seeing, obviously, we've seen significant reductions in our shots fired calls. But the shots fired calls we are seeing, there's more rounds being fired. So that's, we're talking, larger magazine capacities, more semi-automatic rifles, stuff like that. So while the incidents are down, there's more rounds that are being fired.
If I can do a follow-up on that.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious about if you have done sort of social, I'll call them like social autopsies on like following the people who have had guns from kind of in the past, whether it's through narratives or through I'm kind of asking a question about investigation, and I'm curious if you feel like you have a paper trail specific enough to see what has changed in the years from when there were a lot of homicides and shots fired to now when there's not.
Yeah, no, we haven't done that type of analysis on specific individuals, right? I'll just be honest, and Captain Newberry and Lieutenant Via back there, correct me if I'm wrong, tell me, but prior to about 3 years ago, there was a time that from the police department standpoint, you got to remember 3 years ago, we had 30 vacancies. That's a lot. I think today we have 4, or really 2, because we're hiring 2 here soon, so we're really 2. And so, you need people to do things and be out there and engage with the communities and identify individuals who are committing crime. But no, haven't really done that. A social autopsy.
Yeah, and I was just, and to be clear, just so you know, my intention with asking any of these questions, I'm just really curious, as you know, about trying to figure out mechanisms for everything. Mechanisms is probably my favorite word, and I love following the reasons for why things are happening, because that makes it so all of us together can keep their community much safer and retain that safety. So if a lot of folks think getting guns off the streets, that's what's important, and then they're out saying that's really important, and here you can say that actually wasn't a variable that was changing between the drastic decrease in shots fired and homicides. That feels important to track, and also to kind of be able to report out to the public.
Well, I think to your point, I do think you make a good point in the sense, trying to, understanding the root causes. What why are they carrying guns?
Yeah.
Right. Andy Block with UVA recently did a report, excellent report, with his staff, and that report talked about interviewing kids why they don't feel safe. And so if you don't feel safe, you're carrying a firearm, and if you're carrying a firearm and some type of and so obviously it's much more complex than that. But I thought that report was excellent, and getting to figuring out how do you get upstream on some of these things. Re-entry is another big piece. I was talking to someone last week about this. So the reality of it is most people who are arrested don't go to jail for the rest or prison for the rest of their lives. They just don't, right? And so if we are going to make real progress, especially if we believe in that focused deterrence model that a small group of individuals are committing a lot of crimes, we need to really invest in re-entry so that folks, when they do come out of prison or jail, where they're coming from, that they could come back into our communities and be productive members of society. And so, there's a lot to unpack when we start talking about root causes. Yes, sir.
What progress is made in reentry? What thoughts do you have on how to improve that?
Well, it's not my reentry programs, if you will, is not necessarily my thing, but I will tell you, the city has a program, Home to Hope, which is an excellent program. But when we talk about Home to Hope, we got to talk about capacity, right? It's a small office, and they're being asked to do a lot of things, right? And it's an important job, it's an important mission. So, yeah, I mean, job training, right? But that's got to start. It's I mean, if you think about it, that needs to start before people get out of prison, right? And then you got to talk about infrastructure within prisons. You know, within prisons, a lot of them don't have Wi-Fi, right? Or internet access to those types of issues that are there. So how do you do, you know, vocational trainings or college training when you don't have that type of infrastructure in our correction systems? So it's a complicated issue. I was speaking with the Secretary of Public Safety last week, and he was just saying there's just so many things when you talk about Department of Corrections and in that area of reentry and training that they have to address. Oh, and by the way, they have about a 50-60% vacancy rate with the Department of Corrections. I want to say they have like 1,500 vacancies.
You mean with correctional officers,
Yeah.
James? Wow.
That's
Wow.
very- it's- they-
Yeah,
very bad.
it's a tough situation right now.
Other questions?
Yes, this may be a stupid question, but when I hear on the news, shots fired, finding, 30 rounds on the street. What is causing that? Who is firing at what and why? What do you know about that, if anything?
So large capacity magazines, right? And sometimes we'll see them in rifles. So you know, when we collect rounds at 5.56 is usually an AR-15 type style rifle. 7.77 or 7.62, is that right, Tony?
That's-
5.56, 7.62.
that's three,
Yeah.
three of them.
So I mean, we're talking like you know, AR-15 style rifles that they're firing. So you can get a lot of rounds off in a short period of time. What are we seeing? We're seeing random spraying of rounds at homes or at properties.
Yeah, yes, I ask you one question, Chief.
Yes, sir.
When you get these calls of shots fired, is it any particular place that it almost is like it always happened?
No,
You know,
not really. No.
'cause
I mean, in the city's only what, 10 square miles?
yeah, it's not that big.
So yeah, it's not necessarily one specific spot.
And the reason I'm asking because you do hear about shots fired. It's beginning to happen in areas that you never used to hear.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I was asking about that. You know, at one time you could almost pinpoint
Hmm.
where it would happen.
Right.
You know, but now you're hearing about places now that I never heard that it was happening.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, there's not I wouldn't say there's a specific area of the city that you see them most of the time.
There don't seem to be too many injuries, or as many injuries as you might think.
Knock on wood. Right, no, you're
Very
right,
good shot.
you're right. We
So
don't,
I don't understand, I'm trying to get my head around.
why? You know, maybe to try to instill fear in someone, I'm guessing, you know, but. Yeah.
Turf, you know, a lot of them turf, you know, it's. You know.
Other questions?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm curious whether or not there is a separate mental health response team that works alongside the police
there is.
to de-escalate. And does that extend to people who are, when you are responding to shots fired call, for instance, and the community may be frightened or scared? Is there support for the community or just for the victims of crime?
Right now, so that's a good question. So we have a team called the Anchor Team. Okay, we have 2 officers assigned to that team. It also has paramedics and peer counselors that are on it as well. It's still new. It's about a year, 2 years old now, right? So I would love to get it where they are working 24 hours a day. We're just not there yet. But they respond to all kinds of calls. They do. Typically on our shots fired calls, again, we don't have a lot of them. So I think that's a good thing, but when they do, they don't necessarily go out afterwards and talk. Now, sometimes it depends what's going on in the neighborhood. So, you know, we still do our weekly walks, and when we go out, sometimes we'll go out in those areas and talk to folks afterwards. It is something I would like to do. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think it's probably a capacity issue. The city of Roanoke has a program called Reset. where when stuff like that happens. It's a team that goes out and they walk that neighborhood and offer services and stuff of that nature. Great program. They also are dealing with a lot more violent crime than we are.
I can follow up to that, actually.
Yes.
Can you talk more about the limitations of expanding capacity at the anchor team?
Money. Yeah, so not to oversimplify it, but that's really, I mean, if I was given 5 more officers to assign to an anchor team, I could 5 more officers to assign to an anchor team.
And so are you hiring officers with the knowledge that they will be assigned to the anchor team and that will be there?
That's what we would do, yeah. So how it works is we have a set limit of allocated sworn officers, right? And then so if, say, we want to add a 3rd anchor team, well, then I need an officer to put on that team. So we would hire a new officer, send them to the academy, then they go through field training and all that, then they get released. When that happens, then we advertise internally for that anchor position. Typically, it's a more senior officer that would then get assigned. So there would have to be a process and get assigned. So it's a process. So the other piece of it is, say if council were to approve another position, say in this July with the budget, right? So then we can go ahead and start hiring. Hiring an officer takes anywhere between 3 to 4 months from start to finish. And then the academy is about 5 months. And then post-academy training is 8 weeks. And then field training is probably another 3 to 4 months. You're talking about a year. So, but it comes down to funding. It really does. So, because our core mission always has to take precedent, and is that when someone calls 911, a police officer can arrive, right? And last year we had almost 49,000 calls for service, and that's almost 1 for every person in the city. And so we have to make sure that's our core function, is responding to those calls, and then everything else, and investigation, everything else has to come.
Chief, the anchor team is responding though to folks in acute mental health crises.
They
right?
are,
I mean,
yep.
rather than just send out officers perhaps without any training in mental health crises.
And that has helped from a staffing standpoint too, because it frees up our officers to do other things.
Yeah.
So.
I can imagine someone not trained. I mean, it's an unpredictable situation, having made my career out of it.
Yeah.
That someone would want to go into that situation without knowing what they're getting into. So I think it's a great model, and I hope we can expand it.
Would love to.
Yeah. Yes, Karan, go ahead.
Oh, you mentioned earlier about the community academy for the Latino community here. And I wanted to ask you about the police response when it comes to the unhoused and the threat of ICE intervening in cities. What is the strategic plan to assist those people who often resist getting help if they're on the street, but homelessness looks different and it's categorized in a lot of different ways. It's not just the people who are on the street, it's people who are stacked up in their homes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the fear that is with the community and other ethnic communities across this country. What is the strategic plan if ICE shows up?
So I'll answer. So I'm going to take that as like 2 questions. So first, let's talk about our unhoused population. And I think the same could be said for our Latino community. The work has to begin way before something, right? And so that is why we're doing the outreach that we're doing with our Latino community and with our unhoused community. I can tell you the officers that are working down here on the mall each and every day, they know everyone. Our community involvement coordinator, Sergeant Thomas, and Lieutenant Craig Wade, who work in that office, they're down on Ravenna Trail on a regular basis. They know everyone out there. I get text messages from our unhoused community on my phone who I have relationships with about stuff. And it's so the work with those relationships has to have way before things happen. And so when we do have something going on, let's say someone from our unhoused community, you know, we'll try to make sure it's someone that they know, that's responding. But I will say, by and large, our officers know most of our unhoused neighbors. I would argue probably better than most, and they have relationships with them. I watch their interactions through their body cameras as well. And I've seen officers take folks and go buy them dinner and put them up in a hotel room on their own dime. That's a regular occurrence. Our officers sincerely care about these folks. And so, that's how we deal with that. The immigration enforcement thing is a whole other thing, right? So we have never done immigration enforcement. It's not our job to do immigration enforcement. Most federal immigration law is administrative law. And so it's not something that, one, we've ever done, or two, we've ever could do, right? So, you know, there's been a lot of talk around this, and look, what we've seen in Minneapolis, and I feel comfortable saying this, and I've said this publicly, when it comes to the actions of federal law enforcement in Minneapolis recently, is not professional, constitutional, and community-based policing. That's not what we've been seeing. And police departments have been working very hard to build trust in our communities. And when you see stuff like that, that doesn't help. And so it's making our job a lot harder. That's the real truth of it. Immigration enforcement, I'll be honest with you, I can't remember them calling me since I've been here about anything. And so I'm trying to think, they haven't. No, they don't call and say, hey, we're coming into the city to do this or that. It's not something they do. They do their own thing. To be very clear, I can't interfere with federal immigration enforcement. That's against the law. I cannot do that. I cannot, if I did know they were coming into the city, I can't call and warn people and stuff like that. I can't do that. But we're also not going to be involved. So it's a difficult situation. It's clearly making our jobs a lot harder. And I don't think what they're doing is making our community safer.
Chief, did they, Governor, I'm sorry, sign an executive order regarding cooperation with ICE?
Yeah, so initially the governor signed Executive Order 10, I believe it was, on day one. And that was just reversing Governor Youngkin's Executive Order 47, which didn't really impact local law enforcement. It really just impacted jails and sheriff's offices and stuff throughout the Commonwealth. Recently, last week, the governor issued, I believe it was an executive order, or maybe it was an addendum or an attachment to her Executive Order 10 that basically said Virginia State Police or Virginia agencies that are signed on to the 287G program, which is remember I was just saying that we don't have the authority to enforce federal administrative law. If you sign on to that 287G program as a law enforcement organization, you have that, right? And so there were Virginia state agencies like Virginia State Police and others that had that, and she pulled them from it. They pulled out of those agreements. So that's what happened.
Corey?
I think Andrew also had a question earlier.
I wanted to go back to Anchor for a minute.
Yes, sir.
I know that the department tries to have everybody go through CIT, but do the Anchor officers get additional training?
Yes and yes. So our goal is to have 100% of our staff certified in CIT.
Would you say what that is for those that don't know?
Yeah, crisis intervention training. It's a 40-hour course, for the entire week. It's extensive, and the challenge is the CIT model recommends that an officer be here for a little while before they go to that training so they have some type of perspective. The reality of it is, like I said, we had 30 vacancies 3 years ago. I have a very young workforce, right? So we're in the process of doing that and getting them trained through our CIT program. And then our Anchor team does receive extra training. They recently just went down to Durham, North Carolina, and worked with them. They have a really robust program down there. I can get you details of what other trainings they do, but I don't have them in front of me.
Okay, thank you.
What?
Can we go back to the ICE for a minute? Because I remember an incident where two ICE agents came into the Charlottesville General District Court.
Albert, could you speak up a bit?
Sorry, I remember an incident where two ICE agents came into the Charlottesville General District Court, and I think they were masked and they didn't identify themselves.
Yeah,
Do you have
so
any control over?
I have no control over the courthouse. The courthouse was Albemarle, that was Albemarle County Courthouse. So it would have been the Albemarle County Sheriff's Office. I don't know the details about that case other than, you're right. Somebody was wearing a mask. They didn't have a badge out or anything like that. Obviously, that's just not good business. You don't, I mean, as someone who has been in policing for 28 years, I still struggle understanding why, as a police officer or law enforcement, wearing a mask, unless you're in an undercover capacity. Absent that, I don't know. It is my view that communities get to know who their police officers are. That's why we wear name tags. That's why our police cars have numbers on them. That's why we wear uniforms. We're not an anonymous force, right? And so now I've heard the arguments that they're being doxxed and threatened, and I understand that. My officers are threatened all the time, and it's not good, and people should be held. What's that?
Doxed and threatened, I'm not sure I follow you.
Yeah, so doxed meaning like their identities are known, and then people are calling like 911 calls to their house and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's, you know, those cases should be prosecuted. You know, you shouldn't be threatening law enforcement officers and doing those things. But I don't buy into the idea of law enforcement wearing masks just as a matter of business.
So I would say you're not able to, distract, get in the way of, or kind of immigration enforcement. But if someone is turning up with a mask and without a badge, your officers have no way of knowing if they are true. Like if this were 2022,
Right.
and a man showed up at someone's house with a gun and a mask, like a Charlottesville police officer should arrest that person. But
Yes,
they are
that's a
threatening-
different scenario, right? So, yeah, so I guess
How would you know?
well, that's the
Exactly.
thing,
How
right?
would you know that they're ICE officers?
Well, if immigration so if immigration shows up, they have a badge out, they have a vest on, says immigration enforcement, whatever, that's one scenario. The scenario you're talking about, absolutely. Somebody walking down the street, have a mask on, and they go and grab somebody like they're abducting them. Our officers should and will interfere and find out what's going on. That's their duty, that's their job. So we have a duty to intervene if we see something happening that's illegal or unconstitutional on behalf of another police officer. But again, there's a lot of different scenarios that we can talk about. And each one of them are going to have to be handled in very different situations. But by and large, in general, the interfering with federal immigration or federal officers is not something that we can do.
Do they have to go through the security?
Back to the courthouse, yeah. So they would have had to have gone through the security, and
Being masked, they would have gotten through security.
and I don't know, because again, we weren't involved in it. That was a sheriff's office.
So I am a dual service vet, and I'm just curious whether or not there are any specific initiatives to engage the veterans in this area. It's a pretty significant population, whether that's in recruitment or community support.
So first of all, thank you for your service.
You're worth it.
I am. So we don't have like a veterans court like some jurisdictions do. I wish we did. That's something that would be worked out at a Commonwealth Attorney's Office. But no, we don't have any specific unit or specific program for our veteran community. Would love to. Again, I think that's it's more of a capacity issue.
Does that represent a significant portion of your recruits though, or post-military? I know
We do.
in the past that was the case. Is that still true, Chief?
Not as many as it used to, but we still do. We have a significant amount of veterans.
We talk about accountability a lot. And I think it's a fun word to throw around, but it's really hard to actually implement. And on the board, one of the things that I feel is a personal kind of like charge of this board is to hold the police department to the high standards that you're honestly setting, but also the community setting. And a lot of what we've talked about, I think it just makes it really difficult to hold folks accountable, even just if I'm tracking some of the examples, like getting out of your car to go talk to people, getting out of your car to go talk to people in a way that isn't going to be perceived as threatening, you know, and isn't just surveillance, but it's actually trying to be relationship building. Now, personally, I feel that there's been so much great work done by a lot of the folks in Charlottesville Police Department that I've gotten to meet and see and observe. But who cares about my personal opinion? Because the community has no idea, and they're going to want to see that people are being held accountable, right? And so that, for me, seems like we need to be, as you know me.
How you gonna measure it? I knew that's what you said.
That's right. And so, that's a very difficult charge for anyone in public safety and anyone in community well-being or public policy, anyone. So it's not to put it all on your shoulders, but I mostly am saying this out to say for anyone listening, once again, anyone on this board, that I think if we really want to hold those things as important, that anytime we're talking about it, we have to jump straight to how are we actually keeping people accountable for it? How are you going to measure it? How are you going to observe it? How are you going to get it communicated to other people? Because the reality probably is that there's officers doing it literally right now,
I know there are, yeah.
but no one knows about it. And therefore, for a lot of people, it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the truth,
Mm-hmm.
or at least we can't verify it. So that's just my challenge with all of this discussion sometimes is it's really, really hard because I don't know sometimes what we can do to, yeah.
I think
Anyway,
that,
wasn't
and you
intentional.
and you and I, Dr. Dawson, have spoken about this a lot, right? We talk, I mean, what is a true measure of success for a police department? And I think it depends on the department, depends on the locality, right? For here, I look at the end of the day, it's about building trust in the community. Because that we have to do that. And so how do you do that? You build trust by building relationships. And how do you build relationships? Build relationships by being present.
Yep.
Present consistently, not just once, not just twice, right? And, look, as simple as getting out and walking a community. We did our weekly community walk today over on 6th Street. And man, I've talked to folks on the front porch for like 20-30 minutes about real issues to them.
Yeah.
Like a drainage area that wasn't working right with the water runoff. And so I called the public works director, right? Like those are real conversations, real things that matter to folks in those communities.
Yeah.
And so how do you measure, we talk about how do you measure trust? I've challenged you, said, I don't know if you can. And you're like, oh, I'm going to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're I hope we can.
Yes.
But you're right. And for me, it's about setting clear expectations to the folks within the four walls of that building over there about what's expected of them, the type of policing that is expected of them, and go from there. But
yeah, just to kind of continue the dialogue a little bit here. And again, I invite anyone else who has other opinions, especially other law enforcement in the room. Well, actually, I guess not.
It's his time. He can.
Okay, well, I don't know how this works. But even just thinking about professional sort of standards and things like that. I mean, if you're talking to, what you just described, in a lot of ways, some people might go, that's not police work, that's social work. It's like, okay, well, you think of that, you're as the chief going and making those calls, that's appreciated by those people. But again, I wonder where is that getting tracked, because that's really important. Now, one of the ideas that I have is just at least getting it in the narratives, because at least that's something that is, it's FOIA-able, I suppose. It's something that, the board technically could go and verify. If someone were to ask, are police really going out and doing these things? Well, now it's in the report. I'm just curious if that's part of the big push from y'all is if you're out there talking to someone, I know you don't feel like it, write it down. Write down what you're doing.
so it's interesting you talk about last stop police work, stuff like that. So I get that question a lot, right? We need to be tougher on crime. And I said, well, what does that really mean? I said, well, what we're doing seems to be pretty tough on crime. Look at the numbers. Okay. And so I don't know, is a 51% reduction in gun-related incidents tough enough? Is a 17% or 10% part one crime reduction tough enough? Right, is a, 58% reduction in overdoses, is that tough? I mean, like, so how do we get, so those are results, right? Results not just from the police department, but work in the community as well, that the community's been doing. And so, but you're right, it's we've talked about this a lot, but
Chief,
how do you measure those things?
could you bring us up to date on the status of the school resource officers and the MOU?
Yeah.
The city regarding the SROs?
So the MOU has been signed.
Okay.
We'll have 2 SROs going to the
That's a
school.
memorandum of understanding.
Memorandum of understanding, I'm sorry, I'm using. We have two school resource officers going into the schools next school year, one in high school, one in the middle school.
Okay.
And that's gonna be for the first year. And so we are in the process of identifying and interviewing and going through that whole process of identifying who those 2 SROs are gonna be. And going from there, but the memorandum of understanding has been signed, approved, and.
And will they be somewhat seasoned officers? I mean, is the intention?
I hope so. Yeah, so the school's gonna be involved in that selection process
Okay.
as well. So it's gonna be a joint selection.
Maybe one more question.
I just wanted to piggyback on something Dr. Dobson said. Isn't police work inherently social though?
Oh, yes.
Because, I mean, you deal
Yeah.
with people, and I think when we were talking, when Mr. Dillett spoke about relationships and building those relationships in the community, it's necessary, but is there a line that can be crossed or a line that can be drawn when it comes to police work versus social work, or the marriage of the two?
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think they're connected, right? So an officer responding to a call, a violent incident, and a suspect is on the scene and they have to deal with that, right? And how they deal with that, it could be escalated very quickly. It also could be de-escalated very quickly. And that all depends on how the officer handles that interaction, right? We also can't forget that a lot of what our officers do is very dangerous work, right? Removing guns off the street, removing guns like Dracos and AR-15s and taking those off of people. It's dangerous work. I watch it all the time. I've done it for many years. And that is part of the job. Part of our mission, part of our job is to remove the criminal element off the street. But equally as important is to make sure we're building community partnerships, that we're working with the community, and that we're policing in a way that the community expects us to be. The community gets to have a say on how they want to be policed. We talk about this with technology. My peers, we talk about technology. You go to places like Fairfax, Alexandria, Arlington, Portsmouth, Norfolk, they got cameras and real-time crime centers and all of that. Their communities are okay with that, right? We don't have that, and that's okay, right? We will find other ways to do things, and so each community is very unique on how we are going to go about doing our jobs. We have to recognize that.
All right, Chief, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That was
Appreciate your time.
All right.
Appreciate your cooperation, and we look forward to continuing to work with you and bring some accountability when we feel it's necessary.
Absolutely looking forward to it, and thank you all for volunteering on your own time. Again, I was just telling our folks at the Hispanic Academy, folks who volunteer their time on a regular basis like this. I'm a career bureaucrat. I've been in government my entire life. I've been paid to do these late night meetings and stuff. I'm often in awe of folks who volunteer their time to do this stuff. And so thank you. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because I'm not out in the streets all the time, but the times that I have seen you walking out in the community, fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you. And you are all welcome anytime we post when we go out every week. We've walked a different community every week for the last 3 years. We'll
Yeah, I put
continue
a
to do.
plug in to do a walk along with the chief, and I want everybody to get signed up for a ride along with an officer. That is a
Yes.
real eye-opening experience if you haven't done one.
Anytime. We'll set it up.
Yeah. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, gentlemen. All right. James, I'm gonna kick it over to you.
Sure.
Board work plan focus area.
And this is a good opportunity to mention two things really quick. So Sergeant Thomas sends me every week when the police department is doing their community walks, and it's usually kind of a short window of notice though, so if you're interested in that and we want to be prepared for when that occurs, usually it's kind of.
Usually Thursday afternoons, isn't it?
Is it, does it change some days, community walks, or are they a specific day and time?
It does. We announce it on Monday.
Mondays, yeah.
Okay.
So I could let you know on a Monday when it's gonna occur that week.
And people are listening, because even today on our walk, it's a business owner showed a walk with us.
If more than two of us go, is that a problem in terms of the public meeting?
Sort of.
That's a lawyer question.
We're just outside. That's not even.
I've got to run into a couple of my fellow board members.
We are on board business in that regard. But that would be a question, though. I think it may be.
For the city attorney.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Maybe we need to get an answer on that in case 3 or 4 of us show up on the same day. But maybe better in the meantime, coordinate through Mr. Walker, if you do want to go on a walk.
The other piece I wanted to update on is I also talked to Sergeant Thomas about the ride-alongs. So there is a form. I wanted to just mention it tonight. I'm just going to send it out to everyone that needs to be completed in order to do those. And then once that's done, we're trying to talk about, depending on how many people are interested, sooner rather than later, trying to coordinate some of that through myself. So it's not Sergeant Thomas getting a bunch of just, random emails from different board members at different times. And I'm going to be working to participate in those as well. So I think that's a great opportunity for all of us, and I will be sending that out to you so that you can see the form and we can get that piece of the equation completed.
We are gonna go.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
No. If anyone has any questions, you can send.
I really would like to make it a priority for each of us, if you haven't done one, to do one. If you've done one, maybe do another. It's just really instructive in terms of what we're here to do. So you'll be hearing more from the office about that. Go ahead, James.
Yep, and then, so our next item on the list, I kind of altered this a little bit after a conversation that Dr. Frazier, Dr. Dobson, and I had today. We just wanted to make sure that as much time was given for this discussion with the chief, because it's a rarer opportunity. And we were talking about, we hope a lot of these meetings in the future, if the board wants to go in this direction, is about moments like that. Not only having guest speakers and these sort of question and answer sessions, but also time for us to report out as a board what work is being worked on behind the scenes, what things are being accomplished, what events the board has attended, and conversations that have been had with the community. So kind of weaving into that, one of the things that we have been working on recently is early in the year establishing a work plan for the board, getting a sense of how does the board do its work? How does it carry forward from a place of speaking to the community, understanding the community's needs and what the community feels about their experience with policing, shifting that into really understanding where we're going to prioritize our time, because everyone has very limited time. I understand that, we all do. And then looking at, okay, well, what kind of work needs to be done? Is it something related to the policies of the department? Is it something related to doing a review of cases? Is it going to specific events and meetings and speaking, or being able to listen and ask questions of, let's say, related to school resource officers? And then finally, reporting out. And that's, I think, the key component that is great about this time, trying to be able to report out what this board is doing, what products are being produced, what decisions are being made, and formally making a lot of those decisions in this public setting. And that's really what it's for. But to speak to that, a lot of times we're recognizing this need to get work done between these meetings from month to month, and that is a challenge. A lot of times I try not to send too many emails. I try to do them bi-weekly, once every 2 weeks, and emails, as you know, is not really, I hate email. I really do. It's not a great place to do work because it's a lot of back and forth and potentially misunderstanding, and it's very kind of a slow process, especially as a group gets larger and larger. So one of the conversations was around thinking about how we might move into a work session opportunity, or opportunities that doesn't necessarily have to be all board members. I mean, we've talked about committees before. Whenever we get into that discussion of a work session or a committee or any of that framework, we just have to publicly put out notice that we're going to do that. And it doesn't have to be in front of the cameras and the lights and all that, but it can be just more, a little bit more casual in the office, but we're actually there for a specific purpose to work on something specifically and get that final product done or that work finished. And so to speak to that, one of the things that we've been working on recently is, what does our outreach process look like? We created an outreach process, just Dr. Dobson and I mainly working behind the scenes over the past couple of weeks. And it is not meant to be this formal, stuffy document that says you have to do this, this, and this in order to reach out to people. What it's meant to do is guide the fact that we need to be intentional about reaching out to the community, but then we also have to be intentional about documenting, like Dr. Dobson was saying. There's this board and this office have done a lot of outreach over the years, but a lot of times it happens and then it goes into some black hole that we never know what came out of that. What were the main themes that were being shared? And so one of the things is trying to find a way that we can identify who we need to reach out to, how to connect with them, and then actually make that happen and bring something back tangible from that so that we start to collect this repository of input, feedback, and connections with the community, relationships that we have that are not just one-offs, but ones that we maintain. And that takes the work of all of us, because it's certainly, as you know, I'm the only one in the office right now. That's certainly not something I can do by myself. And as board members, you have the better access into various aspects of the community already. And so it's a group effort for sure. And my role is to really support the direction the board wants to take with that. So I do have that included at the back of the packet today, that PCOB outreach document. It's just something to read through and engage with. But one of the things I wanted to mention is there are a lot of quick links inside of this document. And that's because a lot of the items that we're going to have to interact with exist inside of a city server, right? So if we're going to open, one of the very first things you see is the selection. There is a directory that we've been building on all the different community connections we might make, whether that's churches or religious institutions, whether it's neighborhood associations, whether it's nonprofits or individuals. Our goal is to try to build out that directory, but that's something that's behind a locked link that only you with your city account can access. And so I've been pushing that issue and talking about that because there's some things like that we're going to have to keep behind the scenes. And so as you go through this and just think about what it's kind of laying out, it's just saying, hey, board members, here's how we try to figure out who we pick and try to keep track of who we're talking to. Here's how we reach out and just say, establish communication, try to see what works for that community member. And then the final piece is go and have that connection, whether it's, us joining their meeting. Dr. Dobson and I, Mr. Dillard invited us to the NAACP meeting this past Monday. Mr. Dillard is the vice president of the local chapter here. So I appreciate that. And we had a good 20-30 minutes to have some dialogue and answer some questions. And those are the kind of things that, that's how we get out in that community and have those conversations and bring back feedback and input. And this is just the bureaucratic, as the chief was saying, the bureaucratic way to document, here's what we're doing, but actually doing it may look a lot different in some ways. And this might need to adjust to match what works for us as a board and myself as from the office side. So I just wanted to mention that, and I wanted to put it in front of you. And I think that it's a piece that we're going to be figuring out as we go. We're going to be refining what we're doing and how we're doing it and learning as we go.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a quick temperature check for especially the new board members. If this feels overwhelming, helpful, it's hard for me to kind of perspective take, if I'm honest, at this point. And I even say the newer board members with Albie and Rui, if this is kind of making things clearer or if you're feeling like it's more impenetrable of a process, because we don't want the latter. We want it to be that this is just making the complexity of what we're even trying to do a little bit more clear, so we have a draft that we can start to edit.
I think it's a great place to start. I'm curious where we stand as far as our social reach. Where do we stand as far as on social media and digital spaces? Do we have a digital space where we can speak to the community directly or build community around that?
Sure, that's a great question.
That is a great question.
And we haven't talked about that. So we do have a city issued website that I have full control over, within the framework of the city, but I can put any type of things on that page. We can have sub pages that have information on them. Right now, there is a page that has like links to all of our meetings and the videos from those meetings, as well as the agendas and things like that. There's a page that has some reporting, annual reports, and some monthly reports, which is not up to date, and that's a whole nother conversation. But there's also a lot that can go into that, right? That updating a website is really about two factors. It's about what needs to go on there, and then how to keep it updated, and the work that goes into making sure a website is updated. It's a challenge. It's a challenge, you know, as an individual in the office, but that's something we do have access to. Now, flip over to the social media side. The majority of the departments in the city do not have their own social media feeds. Some do, like the police. So usually the larger departments have their own, and they also usually have staff members that are dedicated to that communication side of the equation. But the city has a communications department. In fact, one of them is here tonight and helps us every week, month when we have our meetings. So we appreciate them greatly. But we can always do things like press releases. They can post things to their social platforms that are the citywide platforms. So there are ways to do that, but our core hub that we have the most control over is our website. And one of the things I wanted to mention, another thing in your packet there, this kind of went along, and I've been updating it and trying to, please, I'm not set on this, so please give me any feedback if you don't like it. But the goal was to create a single one sheet that kind of has all of our information in one place. It has the contact information. It also has 2 QR codes, one at the top that takes you to our website, and there's one at the bottom that takes you to a survey that just asks that simple question: what's your experience with policing in the city of Charlottesville? And just ask a few other optional demographic questions. It's completely anonymous. But we were trying to work on this as an easy way to say to people, here's who we are, here's how to reach out to us, here's what we're doing, our process. It's put in a very simple phrasing right here. And then at the bottom, it just talks about, hey, we want to connect with you whatever possible ways are of interest or convenient to you. And just tries to offer all that information in one place. So one of the things that the website is useful for is putting information on to get people to direct them to that place. And that way, whatever we want to put there, they can access it easily and quickly. It's just a single hub for us. So I know that was a long answer, but it kind of gives the full scope of where we stand.
Is there any mechanism we have that's actually interactive? Where maybe we can ask a question to the community and get their responses, or maybe we could talk about an event or invite more people.
No, it's a
to come
great
to
question, Karan.
these
And I
meetings.
think the intention would be when we begin to really do outreach and meeting with community groups, individuals, civic associations, that, you know, we go in with this, we go in with, give us the experience, because before you and Ms. Reeves joined, I made it a priority at our beginning of the year for the board to really engage with the community, solicit input from the community. We want to assume nothing about what the community wants or needs from us. We need to go out there and pound the pavement and ask people for that information. And now that we're at full capacity, I feel like one of the things, if we begin to schedule work sessions, I have 2 priorities for that. One would be to, in one of the work sessions, to sit down and really put some meat on the bones with regard to community outreach. Who, how, where, when, all of that. It's not really conducive to doing it here, or it's just not the format. You know, this is more, we present, we interact with the public in this format. The other is, and James is going to talk about it, is we really need to come up with the revisions that we're going to be asking council to make to our ordinance that untie our hands, because our hands have been tied. So those 2 things are priorities for work sessions. And I want to, before we end tonight, talk about moving forward on getting those, getting those work sessions scheduled. This is a working board. Or more, that's my intention, that it be more of a working board than perhaps it has been in the past.
And yep, sure.
Alvin, yes.
I'll be the first to admit that I'm old school on this, but I think I'll be the first to admit that I'm old school on this, but I think that if you go through a computer or a survey, it's different from having a conversation.
Oh, yeah,
with
absolutely.
somebody. And why couldn't we just have a conversation with the neighborhood association?
Oh, that's exactly what we're talking about.
And then, so we want to make sure we represent them accurately.
Yeah.
So we record or we write down, even with pencil and paper, people still use those. And then ask them if this is right.
Yeah.
Is this what you want us to present
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. And we have now a database of all the neighborhood associations and other organizations with whom we want to interact.
Just said I couldn't agree more. I could agree less.
Okay,
I
please.
think, I think if you think about it, that hits some demographics very well and some demographics not so well. Carl was just talking about social media. If you think about who's interacting with the police most frequently, it's presumably, I don't know, I'm not school on this, but presumably the younger people who are much more likely to be willing to engage on online platforms and social media. I personally despise social media, so I'm not the expert to talk about this, but yeah.
Not in an influencer kind of way, but
No, but just
get their
like-
news from here.
Yeah,
And people
You
want
know,
to talk on.
People want to talk, they want to have dialogue and
but that's the kind of
Conversation.
discussion and that input, because that's useful.
Yeah.
That I want us to have in a work session, where we come together and bring all these
Yeah.
different perspectives and then come up with a concrete plan for implementation. To Albie's point, to your point, to Karan's point, social media and everyone else's point, but that's how it's gonna get done. It's not gonna get done through email. It's not gonna get done through one meeting a month. It's gonna have to be work sessions.
I think the bigger point here is it has. Oh, why?
What you're saying must be important.
I was stopped by a higher power. No, I was gonna say that I think what's really important is that work needs to be done. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
So whatever it comes down to, I mean, it can be in person with paper, it could be in person with a laptop, with a mic and recording, it can be on a cell phone, it can be on social media through surveys. I think we need to, if we're gonna really capture people's experiences, their viewpoints, from a diverse group of people in our community, then we have to do that in a diverse number of ways. And so to add on to the call for a working session, I would even make another call for smaller groups that might even tackle the social media aspect or reach out to youth, or might be really focused on how do we actually have conversations with people or whatever it is.
Can I say one thing? You listen to everything you all saying. Main thing is that you gotta earn these folks' trust.
Yeah.
You gotta get these folks' trust back. That's number one that we gotta work on. And that's gonna take getting out in the community. All these different things coming up this summer that we used to do, set up and pass out swag or whatever else we got to do to talk to people. But I'm telling you, God is my witness, you're gonna have to earn these folks' trust back in the city of Charlottesville. Because number one, when you go to talk to these people, they thinking you the police.
Yeah.
And that's the part that the police department got to deal with, to try to earn these folks' trust back. So as you see this on your chest and they say, well, the police, they got something to do with the police. You gotta let them realize we're not the police. We're here to help you. This is to help you. And we got to get that out there.
Yep.
Well, I don't care what you do, how you do it, or whatever, but and you got to earn these folks' trust.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. I hear what the chiefs say. I see what they do. You got to earn these folks. I'm gonna tell you from experience, 31 years in law enforcement. When I walked the beat, I learned to earn these people's trust. If once they learned your trust, you can get anything out of them. They were more than happy to talk to you. They'll talk to you before they talk to someone else. And in that job, you got to be a doctor, lawyer, judge, police officer, and everything else. So that's the main thing. Just remember, we got to get these folks' trust. That's the main thing.
So I couldn't agree with you more. And the question is how to earn that trust.
Well, you know what? That's why you got to get out there.
At the end of the day, it's about relationships.
Get out there.
About connecting with one-on-one.
Right.
And I do think with these different things happening during the summer with these health fairs, stuff happening in the parks, and all. I even say this at the NAACP. We got to counteract with people. That's why I say, hey, y'all come talk. Do this, do that. That's the way you're gonna learn these people's trust.
Yeah,
And it's coming. I mean, we got a full board in there.
Yeah.
We ain't got no excuse. I'm telling you, we ain't got no excuse. We just need to get out there. And we know it's a volunteer thing, but hey, you came here, you must like something for the reason you came here.
That's right. Yeah, and I was just gonna add on, I mean, I literally study trust for a living for my career, so, you know, I measure it, that's why the chief was joking with me about how do you measure it, he doesn't think it's measurable, I do. You know, again, literally, that is what I do, so I can answer that question in 100 different ways, but I'm not gonna do it here, because it's gonna take us past 8, but really, I have so many thoughts and ideas, and I think this is exactly what we could be talking about in these work sessions.
Yeah.
And we can talk about those, again, diverse ways of measuring trust.
So before we,
Yes, Jeff.
I was gonna say, just glancing at the website, there's an opportunity that's there for contacting the PCOB. But I'm wondering if it would be useful to put something overt on there about a channel through which they could request the PCOB come to them.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
I like that.
great idea.
So one of, and to speak to that and to speak to everyone, including Mr. LaFave with the in-person and just pencil and paper piece, one of the goals of this kind of framework is to say, we are not the ones to determine how people want to be communicated with. They're the ones that determine that.
Yep.
So if it means we show up at a meeting or a coffee shop and have a sit-down conversation, maybe they don't want to be recorded. Maybe it is a scratch pad and just taking notes.
Yeah.
That's all great. I think we're gonna have to approach this every possible way that we can. The key piece is, how do we go from, or not how, but we just need to make sure that we go from, we know who's talking to who, and in a sense of we're not losing track and just doing it randomly, because our goal is to reach all of the community, not just certain pockets that are easy for us to reach. And then how do we then get it all the way back to, here's what I brought out of it, and I'm bringing it back to this group or to this work session. Here's what I learned. And how does that match up with what you're learning from this group, or you're learning from this individual, or you're learning from this business? How do we bring all that back together? That's the hard piece of it. The easy piece, I think, or maybe the most enjoyable piece, is actually sitting down and having the conversation and the relationship. So I don't think there's any right way to do it. I think there's every way is a right way. Every way is a right way. And so I do want at the end here for us to maybe have that final conversation about how we might want to set up a work session.
Yeah.
But before that, was there anyone else that just wanted to comment on this before I talk about the ordinance
No,
component?
talk about that piece
Okay.
coming in for the
And then-
time, and then we'll talk about
Perfect.
the work session.
So I have a kind of an update, and this is new for some of our newer members, but this goes back to the history of the board. There's been a lot of change as the board has gone throughout the years. In the ordinance and the original legislation, the state changed some of their legislation, which then affected the ordinance here. The police started with collective bargaining, which affected them as well. There's been a lot of change. Part of the people that we've talked to and try to have communication with are some of those original founders of this entity. They have important voices in the community and important perspectives. But as we go forward, the ordinance does need modifications. There are areas that have barriers and limitations and conflicts and disagreements between other policies and laws and things like that. So back in September, we had an initial meeting with City Council where the board and City Council met together. And we did kind of an initial rundown of some cleanup in the ordinance. It was high level stuff, fix this, move this around here, cut that, add this, just simple things. The City Council has expressed a lot of interest in having another one of those sessions with the board as a whole, discussing some of the meat and some of the more details in the ordinance. So these are things related to what does it look like for the board to interact with complaints and review or investigation of complaints. Right now, the ordinance says that this board can investigate, but there's a lot of reasons why it cannot. There's other aspects in there related to how the board recommends discipline about an officer. There's a lot of implications for that. There's components related to hearings and how this board does policy review, as well as just all manner of things related to the police department. The original ordinance just gave this broad spectrum with not a lot of detail on how any of it was going to get accomplished. What we need to attempt to do is limit that scope down, but make it more robust and more clear and more meaningful. And so that's work that, I've been doing even before, the former supervisor Inez Gonzalez was here. She did a lot of work on that as well. The former boards have done a lot of work on that. We have done a lot of work together on that. But now it's time to kind of bring it to the full board and actually put some of these ideas in writing in front of city council, in front of all of you, so that some decisions can be made about, here's what we envision the board doing and, completing and reporting out on to the community, to the city council, to the city manager, to the chief of police. That's where we need to get to. What does the board accomplish and how does it then share it with the community and with all those stakeholders? And so that's another critical piece of a work session, because I spoke to the city manager this week, and we're trying to move that process forward sooner rather than later. So we're talking about an April timeframe to meet with city council. And that is a great opportunity to have a direct voice with them. There's a couple components of just understanding that ordinance and understanding some of the challenges and areas that need adjustment. And it's my goal to be able to support you in that and to talk through some of those changes. I have a lot of different formats of documents of everything from red lines, which are really complicated, looking to just presentations that just briefly summarize the areas that we need to focus on. I'm trying to kind of consolidate that into a very clear picture of, here's the areas we need to look at in the ordinance, and here's what we need to think about changing. To Mr. Dillard's point, this board is welcome to suggest a change to its name if it wanted to, so that police is not the first word.
That's an interesting point.
That's an example of something that really could be considered. Another thing that is like a related item is the purpose of the board is very basic in our current ordinance. And it's a little unclear about what the purpose really is. It uses the word trust, but it uses it in a strange kind of way that focuses more on the city rather than the community. That might be something we want to alter too.
So re-examine the language.
Right, and so there's a lot to do there, but it takes time outside of this meeting to really do that work. And that's where I spend a lot of my focus in prepping that for you. So I'll stop there and just say, you can close up with trying to figure out where we want to go.
I had said to Dr. Dobson, Mr. Walker, in our meeting this morning that, we're not gonna get too many bites of the apple with council. And so I want to make sure that we go in there with a targeted message to them about, these are the changes that we think are necessary. This is why we think they're necessary. We ask for you to implement them. They know that in 7.5 years, we've not held a single hearing. The optics of that are terrible. And we need to clean up this ordinance so we can do the work that the community expects us to do. So we need to go into council with a clear agenda for what needs to change. That can only happen if we sit down for 2 or 3 hours together and hash it out with the work that some of us, and especially Mr. Walker, have already done, trying to deal with the inconsistencies and the non-starters in that ordinance, because it's full of holes. So what I want to suggest, or want to ask the board to do, or ask Mr. Walker to do, is send an email to the board asking you to give your optimal days and times. Could be afternoons if you're working, could be evenings, it could be weekends, whenever you can do it. And then we'll work from that to try to get something scheduled sooner than later. And I know it's a big ask because we're all busy, but we're here to get this done. We cannot get it done in these meetings. It's not realistic. The time constraints, the other things we have to accomplish in our monthly meetings. We need to begin having regular work sessions. That hasn't happened with this board. I want to change it so that it begins to be a part of what we do, and get a buy-in from everybody to participate in these work sessions.
Can't agree no more.
Hats off to Mr. LaFay for bringing this to our attention this week and saying, why aren't we doing this? And response is, well, we're going to start. So if you would tell the board
Sure.
tomorrow, Monday, please respond ASAP, letting know what, what's absolutely off the table for you, what's a for sure.
We might start with the process of elimination
Yeah.
before we. But I'm eager to do whatever time work for whatever groups on this board. I've always offered, if you want to just meet one-on-one, I will make it work.
And if we want to, in that first work session, form some committees to do different pieces of this, I'm wide open. I mean, I have no no agenda except work sessions to accomplish the goals of, how we're gonna, operationalize our outreach and how are we gonna clean up this ordinance. Those are my priorities for 2026. And if we get that done, we'll have gotten more done than this board has in years.
It's true. It's-
Thoughts?
We're gonna do it.
Thank you, George.
We're gonna do it.
Yes, sir.
I got a feeling that things are gonna be some changes here
Yeah.
in this new year.
Yeah, I feel strong.
I'm just feeling more better with seeing all these people on this board right now. I mean, I've been here a long time and it's like, is we ever gonna get in the point that we can start doing some things? And with James, you two, I think we're gonna be okay.
And I'll say again, and I've said this before the new folks were here tonight, and I'm feeling even more strongly with our two newest members. I'm more excited and more enthusiastic about this board. I've been on this board almost 6 years. And we've spun a lot of wheels, we've tread a lot of water. This is the most excited I've been about PCOB in my tenure. And I've got till the end of 27 when I term limit out, and I want to make sure we get stuff done before then. That's my ask of you.
And I'll just finish with one final statement on that note is that it is the goal for March to spend a good chunk of that meeting doing a case review.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be working to meet with the city attorney and talk about closed session and what that looks like. And also this one's going to be more for practice for all of us, myself collecting and presenting the material in a way that is meaningful and that absolutely give me feedback on if it doesn't work, if we need it some way different. And for the board to get a sense of what that would look like and what things we can take out of a closed session and make them public, because that we are getting into a more legal and policy realm, but it's critical in that scope. If this board is going to actually review cases, look at body cam footage, things like that, we have to get that practice done so that when there are higher level incidents that come up, the one that I have that's prepared is one that came through the PCOB, but it's going to be an easier one. It's definitely a complex one, but it's an easier one to understand the outcome of.
But also, James, how to package that case. I mean, we can't look at 20 hours of.
Right, exactly.
What I've asked James to do is create a format whereby we have the most relevant body cam footage, the most relevant facts, so that it's manageable for us. We can't look at every document and every minute of, I mean, it's just not realistic.
Yep, case files are pretty thick too.
Exactly.
Yep. So that's the goal.
So this is an opportunity for us to fine tune this process.
Yep.
Because again, we're gonna be doing more of that. Once we get the ordinance cleaned up, we can really begin to look at cases.
Excited.
All right. So we have one more public comment. Anyone? Kate, please.
Yeah. So what a meeting you've had.
Woo.
It's good. My name is Kate Fraley. I've been following police oversight for more than 9 years here. So I have a lot to say, but I only have 3 minutes. So I'll just talk about a few things and then I may send you all some information. So about measurements. One of the reasons that the PCOB started in the first place was the disproportionate minority contact report from years ago, one for juveniles and one for adults, that showed real disparities, not just disproportionality, but disparities in the treatment of African Americans in the city. And they wanted in relation to arrests, charges, jail time, that data, some of it is still being done by Matt Vitale from OAR. And he recently did a new one on the statistics in jail. He doesn't do the police, but he does charges and jail time. Anyway, it's new and it shows disproportionality. So one of the problems I think with the police department has always been some sort of bias, and there's all kinds of research about all the things that don't work to fix it. So accountability is probably the major thing to fix it. about ICE. So I was very interested to hear the chief say that the police will intervene if an ICE agent is masked and doesn't have a badge. I think he listed 3 things, and is doing something illegal. And at the same time, he said he can't interfere. So I have seen 2 videos of police officers in localities arresting ICE officers, arresting them. So the police department can. So my suggestion to you is that you need to help the police department write a policy on when a police officer can arrest an ICE agent, what actions, what verbiage, whatever. And I have asked,
Great idea.
do I only have 26 seconds left?
Yep.
Oh, gosh. So, okay. So there's a cure violence model that does the surround an event. I don't think the police do it, but, and in town, there's the Central Virginia Violence Interrupters, CVVI, that is working in Greenstone neighborhood. They don't have enough money. And so they would like some more money. And so when the police budget goes up, their budget should go up too. Okay, thanks. I'll send stuff to you.
Absolutely. Anything, Ms. Fraley sends us a lot of great information that is very helpful and useful resources. So I will absolutely forward that along if you send it to me directly.
I did an orientation manual once for the PCOB board. Remember that? You have a copy of it. So I think I can figure out. The first couple pages of it have the whole history of how the PCOB came to be.
Yes,
That
and
might be-
that was some of the stuff that you and I were looking at that one day. Yes.
Yeah.
I do have all that in my office. I have a lot of the history of this board in the office as well. And a lot of the original intent and opinions and thoughts.
Yeah.
So thank you so
Okay.
much.
Sure, thank you. I'm encouraged.
That's man.
Like you're going places.
Yeah.
Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Remy, do we have anybody?
Yeah.
I'm trying to start filling this hall when we have these meetings.
Remy, do we have anybody online, with a question?
Oh, can I make another suggestion?
One second. No? Remy, okay.
So online, I've listened sometimes online and it's hard to hear some of you.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to hear you. So,
Wait, calling us out. The
no,
mics
we
are.
can hear you, George.
All right,
That's good feedback.
if there is no other business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Did someone make the motion? All in favor, say aye. Thank you much, everyone. Welcome to this, I'm very excited. And we will be in touch about a work session, and we'll be back here in a moment. Downstairs.
Downstairs, yep, downstairs. Sorry,
Thank you.
noise, what was that?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.